He said I was too successful for my own good. So he took what was mine, my inheritance, my reputation, and my career. But what he didn't know was that I wasn't just going to stand by. I was planning something much bigger. Meet Simone Turner. A 28-year-old woman from Chicago, Simone had always been the one to prove everyone wrong. From a young age, she was told she was too ambitious, too driven, and that she'd never succeed without stepping on people to get to the top. But Simone didn't listen. She built her career brick by brick, working long hours and sacrificing personal relationships to rise to the top of the corporate ladder. She wasn't just a survivor. She was a force to be reckoned with. But there was one person who could never accept her success. Her older brother, Evan. For years, Simone had watched him struggle in her shadow, unable to match her achievements, unable to step out of her success. But when their father passed away, leaving behind a significant inheritance, Simone's world began to unravel. Evan had always resented her success, but now, he had a chance to destroy it all. Under the guise of family loyalty. He manipulated the will and took everything. Money, property, and even connections that Simone had worked so hard to build. And just like that, the brother she had always tried to support, the family she had always trusted, turned against her. But Simone wasn't the victim anymore. She wasn't going to let Evan steal what was rightfully hers without consequences. This was no longer about money. It was personal. Simone wasn't just going to take this lying down. She was about to make him regret underestimating her. Do you believe in taking back what's yours? Or would you let betrayal define your life? Stick around because Simone's not done yet, and neither is her fight. If you've ever been betrayed, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And hey, I'd love to know where you're watching from. If you've experienced something similar, drop a comment below. Let's see who's ready to take control and fight back. Simone had always been the responsible one, the steady hand in a world that often felt uncertain. As the younger sister, she had always carried the weight of expectations, but she never complained. Even when their mother walked out on them when Simone was only 12, she stepped up. She became both a mother and a sister to Evan, raising him when their father was too busy to notice. I raised Evan after Mom left, Simone would say, her voice carrying the weight of the sacrifice. I worked 2 jobs just to make sure we had enough food on the table, even if I had to skip dinner myself. She didn't want thanks, she never asked for it. She just wanted Evan to have the future he deserved. In those early years, she put her dreams on hold, sacrificing everything for the family she thought she would always protect. She had dreams of becoming a successful lawyer, of traveling the world, of one day having a family of her own. But all those dreams were buried under the weight of her responsibilities. She spent nights studying, going without sleep, all while working long hours at the local diner, just to pay for her and Evan's bills. Through it all, Simone's heart never wavered. She thought if she just gave enough, if she just worked hard enough, love and loyalty would come back to her. But when Evan got older and began his own career, things began to change. Simone's sacrifices weren't acknowledged. Her brother started distancing himself, as though he resented her success, as though it was a constant reminder of what he couldn't achieve. He'd always been envious of her drive, her ability to make things happen. But Simone, ever the optimist, never saw it coming. She still believed that family meant something. She thought her sacrifices would be repaid with loyalty and trust. I never asked for anything in return. I just thought that when the time came when Dad was gone, Evan would step up and honor everything I'd done for this family. But he didn't. He took it all. He took what I worked for, what I sacrificed everything for. Simone never asked for anything back. She never wanted to be a martyr. She just wanted to love her brother, to build something meaningful together. But when the inheritance came, Simone learned how little her sacrifices had meant. Have you ever sacrificed everything for someone, only to have it thrown back in your face? If you've ever felt unappreciated, hit that like button, and subscribe for more of Simone's journey. Share this with someone who's been let down by someone they trusted. Simone thought her relationship with Evan was as solid as ever, Until the day everything came crashing down. It had been a few weeks since their father's funeral, and Simone had begun to adjust to the fact that the family was splitting the inheritance. It had been a difficult time, but Simone had trusted Evan to do the right thing. She didn't expect him to give her the full amount. After all, they were siblings, but she did expect him to be fair. One afternoon, Simone received a call from her lawyer. The words that followed hit her like a punch to the gut. "I didn't know that behind my back, Evan had already liquidated the estate," Simone recalled, her hands shaking as she gripped the phone. "He'd taken everything, the house, the investments, the savings. All of it." Evan had told their relatives that Simone didn't want anything from their father's estate. He told them she was doing fine and didn't need anything. He lied. But the truth was that he was pocketing it all, using their father's money to fuel his own desires, ignoring the promises he made to their father that he would always look out for Simone. I sat there in my lawyer's office, looking at the documents. I tried not to feel the anger rising up in me, but I couldn't help it. I cried because I couldn't believe what Evan had done. This wasn't just a business deal. This was family. This was everything I had sacrificed for him. Simone thought her brother had been behind her, supporting her, just as she had supported him for years. But in that moment, she realized that Evan had never seen her as family. He had always seen her as competition. Everything she had worked for, everything she had built, everything she had given up, was all a means to an end for him. And the man she had trusted most had turned into someone unrecognizable. Simone tried to reach out to Evan, hoping for some explanation, some sort of justification for his actions. She called him, texted him, even went to his apartment. But he avoided her. Every time she thought she might get an answer, he shut her down. "They thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought I couldn't rebuild. But I wasn't going to just sit there and let him get away with it." Simone sat alone in her apartment that night, staring at the documents and thinking about the years she had spent building her life. The weight of everything Evan had taken from her, the career, the trust, the family, crushed her. She was at her lowest. She had done everything for this family. She had given up her youth, her dreams, her health, all for Evan. But now she was the one left with nothing. Nothing but the bitter taste of betrayal. For the first time she felt completely powerless. The one person she had loved and trusted had destroyed everything. And she wasn't sure where to go from here. But then, as she sat there in that empty apartment, a voice inside her said, "No, that's not how this ends." Simone wiped away her tears, stood up, and looked at herself in the mirror. She wasn't just going to let Evan destroy her. This was her turning point. "They thought I wouldn't rise again. They thought I couldn't take back what was mine. But I'm not done yet. And this time I'm not playing by anyone's rules but my own." The fire inside Simone reignited. This was just the beginning. She wasn't going to let betrayal define her future. Simone was going to make Evan regret underestimating her. Have you ever hit rock bottom, only to find the strength to rise again? If you're ready to fight back, like this video, subscribe and share Simone's journey. Because she's just getting started, and trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. After everything Evan had taken from her, Simone knew she couldn't just sit back and let him have the last word. He thought he'd won, but that's exactly what made her dangerous. Simone wasn't the victim anymore. She wasn't the sister he could easily push aside. In the silence of her apartment, as the world moved on without her, Simone started to put the pieces together. She knew the system. She knew the people who had worked with Evan, those who had witnessed his unethical business practices, his manipulative ways. Simone wasn't going to fight dirty like he had. No, she was going to fight smarter. "I didn't write an angry letter or shout at him on the phone. I wrote a plan," Simone thought, sitting in front of her computer, her mind racing with strategy. She spent hours researching, compiling information about every person who had ever helped Evan along the way. She reached out to old contacts, people he had crossed in the past, and began building her own network of allies. Simone wasn't going to take this lying down. She was going to play the long game. I wasn't the naive sister who would just roll over, Simone realized as she pored over the files she had gathered. I was someone who knew exactly how to turn this around. I was a strategist. And Evan was about to feel the full weight of his betrayal. She wasn't going to just expose him in the traditional sense. No, she had something much more devastating in mind. Simone began contacting former colleagues of Evan, digging into the corporate scandals he'd buried. She found the skeletons he'd hidden and started to turn those same secrets into leverage. She wasn't just playing catch-up anymore. Simone was playing chess, and she was ready to make her move. Simone's plan had started coming together faster than she anticipated. Within 3 weeks, she had secured critical information about a deal Evan had made with a shady business partner. She reached out to a reporter she had worked with during her earlier career, someone who owed her a favor, and dropped the first bombshell. It wasn't just a story, it was the beginning of Evan's unraveling. According to the sources Simone had gathered, Evan's shady dealings were about to make headlines, and they would come with legal consequences. Simone didn't need to witness his reaction. The moment she saw the first article pop up online, she knew it was enough. The public would now begin to question Evan's integrity. Simone wasn't just making waves in the business world, she was changing the narrative. Each victory gave her more power, and with every piece of dirt she uncovered, Evan's foundation grew weaker. Victory 1. Within 4 weeks, Simone had gained access to a series of emails that Evan had thought were deleted. These emails revealed confidential agreements with corrupt companies. She sent them anonymously to his biggest clients. Within days, one of his largest contracts was cancelled. Evan didn't even see it coming. Victory 2. By week 6, Simone had turned to his closest business partner, someone Evan had always trusted. Through careful persuasion and the right leverage, Simone got the partner to agree to testify against Evan. This was the nail in the coffin for his business empire. As word spread that Evan had betrayed those closest to him for personal gain, clients began jumping ship. According to reports, his company was hemorrhaging money. Victory 3. Simone's final move came when she made sure Evan's reputation would never recover. She got the board of directors to call an emergency meeting. Armed with every piece of evidence she had carefully gathered, she presented it to them. Emails, contracts, testimonies, each one more damning than the last. The result: Evan was removed from his own company, a move that left him humiliated and powerless. Simone sat back, watching the fall of everything Evan had worked for. She didn't need to witness his panic-stricken calls. She didn't need to see the look of shock on his face. Knowing was enough. She had turned the tables, and now it was Evan who would experience what it felt like to be completely exposed. Do you think Simone went too far, or was this her only way out? If you're rooting for her revenge, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this story with anyone who needs to see what happens when betrayal goes too far. You won't want to miss what's coming next, because this isn't over. Simone had been waiting for this moment, knowing Evan would eventually come to her, desperate and begging for forgiveness. After everything she had done to take him down, she knew it was only a matter of time before he would reach out. But she had no intention of offering him any mercy. The call came one afternoon, the sound of Evan's voice breaking through the silence of her office. He sounded frantic, rattled, as if he was unraveling by the second. "Simone, please, you have to listen to me," Evan's voice crackled over the phone. "I never meant for any of this to happen. The inheritance, the business, it was all too much. I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I didn't take control, we'd both lose everything. I was trying to protect us. Protect you." Simone leaned back in her chair, her fingers lightly tracing the rim of her coffee cup. She had anticipated this moment, but it didn't change the fact that hearing his voice made everything feel more real. "You mean the truth? You decided to steal everything from me?" Simone's voice was calm, controlled, as she spoke the words that had been building for months. "You mean the trust you broke when you manipulated the will, and then spread lies to make me look like the villain?" Evan was silent for a moment, the weight of her words sinking in. She could hear him take a deep breath, probably trying to come up with a response that could somehow save him. But Simone knew there was nothing he could say that would undo what he'd done. "You thought I wouldn't fight back," Simone continued, her tone sharp and steady. "But I didn't just sit there, Evan. I didn't just let you destroy everything I worked for. You underestimated me." He was still trying to salvage what little was left of his dignity, pleading, "Please, Simone. You have to understand. Sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." Simone had heard enough. "No, you don't get to apologize now. Not after everything. The damage is done. And there's nothing you can say that will ever make it right." There was no more room for excuses. No more room for second chances. The boundary was set, and Simone would never let him cross it again. As Simone hung up the phone, she felt an overwhelming sense of finality wash over her. This was it. The confrontation had happened, and Evan had shown just how far he was willing to go to avoid facing the consequences of his actions. But this wasn't just about words, it was about what came next. Simone wasn't done with him. The next day, she received word that the board of directors, the same group who had once stood by Evan, had voted to remove him from his position as CEO. It wasn't just a slap on the wrist, it was the end of everything he had built. But Simone didn't stop there. The final twist came when Simone bought the house next door to Evan's. It was a small act, but it was a visual reminder of who had won. Every morning when he left for work, he would drive past Simone's house, knowing she was there, knowing she had everything he had tried to take from her. The revenge wasn't just about money, it was about reclaiming her power. And now she had it all. Evan's empire crumbled under the weight of his lies. He lost clients, contracts, and respect in the business world. In the end, it wasn't the betrayal that hurt him the most. It was the knowledge that his own sister had orchestrated his downfall with precision. Simone's revenge had come full circle, and she could feel the weight of justice finally lifting from her shoulders. Evan would have to live with the consequences of his actions for the rest of his life. And Simone, she had won her freedom. Months had passed since Evan's disgraceful fall from grace. Simone no longer needed to check her back door, unsure of what he might try next. His empire had crumbled, and the silence that followed his downfall felt more like freedom than victory. But she wasn't just basking in the aftermath of his failure. No, Simone had turned her focus inward. It was time to rebuild, and she wasn't just rebuilding her career or reclaiming her reputation. She was rebuilding herself. The house she'd bought next to Evan's wasn't a trophy. It was a reminder. Every morning when she stepped outside, she could see the life she had taken back. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about her own renewal. Evan had fallen, but Simone was standing tall, stronger than ever before. As the months went by, Simone's life started to flourish again. Her business grew exponentially, her network expanded, and most importantly, she reclaimed the trust of those she had lost along the way. Friends, clients, and colleagues who had once turned their backs on her because of the lies Evan had spread. Simone had built something solid from the ashes of betrayal. She also found herself giving back. What Evan's betrayal had taught her was the importance of loyalty. True loyalty, not the hollow version he had exploited. Simone started mentoring other women in business, showing them how to navigate betrayal and rise stronger. She shared her story with them, but not as a tale of vengeance. It was a story of reclaiming power, of knowing your worth and fighting for it, even when it feels like the world is stacked against you. Simone smiled to herself as she looked at the city skyline from her office window, realizing that her life had become a reflection of who she truly was. Not a victim, but a victor. "I used to think that revenge would give me peace," Simone said quietly to herself one evening. "But now, I know it wasn't revenge that changed me. It was the strength I found when I stopped letting someone else define me." In the end, it wasn't about Evan's destruction. It was about Simone's rebirth. The woman she was before would never exist again. She was stronger. She was wiser. And most importantly, she was free. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying someone. It's simply rising above their attempts to break you. It's taking back what they tried to take from you and becoming the person they never thought you could be. That's how you turn betrayal into strength. That's how you reclaim your power. If you've ever had to fight for what's yours, if you've ever had to rise from the ashes of betrayal, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share Simone's story with someone who needs a reminder that they can overcome anything. Remember, no one can take your power unless you let them.